to play football on the same team as his little brother, Bo Jackson. Now, Ty Howard, a linebacker, Bo Jackson, a running back, two brothers on the same team, both of them wearing number 25. I love that. I think that's a great story. So when you see the 25s out there, those are brothers, and that's really cool. I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championships. The rivalries, it's up there on top of the list, man. And if we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. And welcome into JUCK on Bucks on a Tuesday, practice number 1 in the books of the spring, and I soaked it all up. We got a lot of stuff to get to. We got a new coach who is a legend. Ryan Day's a totally different dude. Some interesting changes in philosophy from Ryan Day due to dropping from the 120 player limit down to 105. I've got some pictures to show you, some video to show you. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. I watched it all, talked to a bunch of people, some players, some recruits. We're going to get into all of it. We got some big offers to go over. But before we start, please like today's show. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. It just helps me out and helps you find the stuff easier that you like, not just my show, but other college football shows. Because if you're watching this, you are part of the 0.002% of diehards like myself that are college football all the time. But let's start with my favorite group, and that is the offensive line, as we've got two monster transfers, one of whom came in today weighing 357 pounds. Yes. Now, we had projected the starting rotation to be that 357-pounder, Ethan Onyanwa, or Onyanwo. I'm just saying Onyanwa till I find out it's pronounced differently. Onyanwa is easy to say. So Ethan Onyanwa at left tackle, then Luke Montgomery at left guard, Carson Hinsman at center, Tegra Shabola at right guard, and Phillip Daniels, the other new transfer from Minnesota, at right tackle, battling Ian Moore. And last week I told you that Tony Gerdeman of Buckeye Huddle had reported that he had heard that it was going to be Austin Sareveld at left tackle to start the spring, Ian Moore at right tackle. So neither of the transfers in there in the starting lineup to start, which kind of made sense. But then also, you know, those guys aren't coming in raw. They had 5 weeks with the team, and they were in uniform, and they were putzing about with the team. So, you know, it was maybe they will, maybe they won't. Did he get good information or not? He did. That's how the Buckeyes came out. So props to Tony. That was good info. Austin Sareveld was at left tackle. Now, he messed around last year in the spring and played left tackle because of the hand, foot, and mouth that ran through particularly the offensive line. And he ended up playing, obviously, guard in the season. Ryan Day in his press conference was asked about the line and him specifically playing at tackle. And he's talking about a different philosophy than he was last year. And I specifically remember last year when discussing Tegra Shabola at guard, he was asked about, are they going to still be training him at tackle? And he said, no, I would rather him focus on guard and just get really good at that than to try and spread him too thin. And this has now changed. Here's what he had to say about it.
Well, I think now that we're going to a roster of 105, it looks like that's where we're headed. Then, you know, we have to have versatility, and, you know, guys have to be able to play multiple positions. You saw that happen with Donovan. You saw it happen with Carson this year. You've seen it happen with a lot of our guys. And so we want to be able to teach guys in dual roles this year. I think it's important, and not just on the offensive line. You know, if you're a tight end, you need to be able to play receiver. So maybe, you know, a tight end can learn protection and line up in the backfield. A receiver like Brandon Ennis can line up in the backfield and take a handoff. You know, you think about Xavier Johnson, you think about the run we've made late in the season. Guys have had to move and play multiple positions. I think you find that sometimes in the NFL. The difference here is that we're not going to be able to sign people off of waivers.
So previously you had 120 guys on your roster. That was 85 scholarship players, 120 total with your walk-ons. And now you have 105. And you can add more scholarships over that 85 limit, but 105 is your max. Ryan Day talked about the offensive linemen going forward, having primary and secondary positions. He talked about Luke Montgomery playing guard and center, Austin Sareveld and Tegra Shabola playing both tackle and guard. So I like it. It's a pretty good plan. When we look at last year's offensive line, we had Donovan Jackson. Obviously, he played guard and tackle. He was 320 pounds. Tegra was 327 pounds. This year, we've got some really big additions, obviously, as Ethan Onyanwa, as I said, came in 6'6", 357. Ryan Day asked about that weight.
The more flexibility we can have. So I thought it was a really big get for us.
Spring, but do you envision Ethan as a left tackle, and do you want to keep him at around, I think he's listed at 357 pounds. Do you like that? Or
no, we like it a little lighter than that. That's a little heavy. Yeah, we got to cut that down just a little bit. But the good thing is he can carry weight. And so now if we cut him down, we're just going to see more and more athleticism and bend. So that's good. He's going to start out at left, and then we'll go from there. But again, the more flexibility we can have with these guys, the better for the room, because, you typically think, all right, we have 5, who's the 6th? And then what does the 6th do? Well, he plays tackle or he plays center. Well, that really pigeonholes you, because now if you lose a guard, now you're going to, like, quote unquote, your 7th guy. But if you have swing guys, now you're playing your best 7 or your best 8. You don't get yourself jammed up. So I think that's something that we have to do moving forward, is guys have to have almost a primary and a secondary position.
I love it. But I also love that Austin Searveld is now 6'5", 320. Tegra Shabola, 6'6", 330. Philip Daniels, 6'5", 315. Luke Montgomery, 6'5", a paltry 308. Ian Moore, 6'6", 309. Freshman Carter Lowe came in at 6'6", 341. A kid right out of high school. This is a different kind of offensive line, guys. This is a big unit. I love it. I really love it. This looks like a Georgia offensive line. But we got the 2 new transfers in Philip Daniels and Ethan coming in on the second team. And assuming those 2 guys are going to be ready come season to be in your upper echelon, upper tier guys that are ready to play, you've got your 5 that we already had, right? Austin Searveld, Luke Montgomery, Carson Hinsman, Tegra Shabola, and we're assuming Ian Moore is now one of those guys that is also ready. And then you add in Ethan Onyanwa and Philip Daniels. You've got 7 guys who look like they're ready to play dudes. If you can find one more, you're in pretty darn good shape with 8 guys. And I think maybe one of these guys is going to pop between Devontae Armstrong at guard, Josh Padilla at center, maybe Gabe Van Sickle, who's up to 320 pounds at right guard. If we can get one of those guys ready, you got 8 solid dudes, and that's a pretty doggone good start to head into the season as you enter with the new coach, Tyler Bowen, who was out there, and he is the biggest one of them all at 6'7". All right, let's swing to the defensive line, sticking with the big fellas. And here is a video of a newly added defensive lineman.
I grew up in the judicial system, sniping and fighting, and juvenile detention centers, inciting riots, in the studio 2 nights in, I'm the grandmother and mouth.
So that's CJ Hicks with that awful monster of a defensive coordinator who hates players. And that video shows, number one, what a good dude CJ Hicks is. Like, there's no doubt that everybody on this team has heard the nasty things that people have said about that guy. And yeah, he's a player, and that's a coach, and he's making him feel welcome and like they got his back. And I like that. I mean, that's part of team too, a coach-player relationship. Patricia looks like he's going to be pretty popular amongst the guys. He was in the mix like that all day when the media period was there, getting down on his hands and knees, really getting in the muck with them, and really coaching hands-on. And I love to see that. Ryan Day talked about CJ Hicks in his press conference, said that he's really good, obviously, with his first step, that he can reduce his surface area with his bend, and he's very powerful as well. To me, it looks like CJ has put on about 5 pounds. I think he was playing at about 230 last year. He looked to be about 235. Probably going to try to be about 240 by the time the season starts. Edric Houston. Big Eddie looks bigger, and the roster that they gave out today, I don't think is right. It's got him listed at 270. Larry Johnson said he was about 285, 290 when he spoke a couple of weeks ago. And I am so excited that we get Edric Houston for 2 more years. This guy, not just a great player, but a great kid. And he's kind of the leader. He's kind of becoming the leader there which is really great because they need a guy like that with a big personality to be the leader there. And then you got transfer Logan George, who came in from the SCS. He's wearing 48 and looks like he belongs out there, just like Larry said. Watch these guys in a couple of drills. Freshman Jarquez Carter wearing number 91 popped immediately. They did a drill, and it was an agility drill. Jarquez Carter, as a defensive lineman, was the fastest. The interior defensive lineman was faster than the guys on the end. He was faster than Kenyatta through this drill. And that's what I've been saying, man. This dude is a twitch monster. He absolutely is going to push for playing time in the middle of this defensive line. Absolutely, as a freshman. And a freshman who did not come in with the pedigree of an Edric Houston at all, not even close. I'm really excited about this guy, especially after seeing him next to those guys today. So you've got your two in the middle with Caden McDonald and Edric Houston. Behind them, Taiwan Malone and Will Smith is who lined up in the two deep. So Taiwan Malone and Will Smith, no Jason Moore. Jason Moore not getting those second team reps, which that's probably not what most of us were thinking. We were probably thinking Jason Moore would be that at least one of those two guys coming in that two deep, and he wasn't. We've talked extensively about this defensive line room. They need somebody to pop inside. Absolutely have to have it. And you want to have somebody that is almost as good as the guys that are starting as your number 3 man. Currently, as it stands, from what we've seen so far of Jason Moore, Will Smith Jr., and Taiwan Malone, nobody's close to Caden McDonald or Edric Houston. So we need to see some big improvement, and somebody's got to be that dude who can be that number 3 man in there, or they're going to be trying to shake one of those out of the portal. I think Jarquez Carter might end up being that guy. I really do. All right, let's swing over to linebacker. James Laurinaitis told us he's teaching all these guys, both Mike and Will, and it's interesting. So last year, Arvell Reese is like, picture a perfect Will linebacker in your head. It's Arvell Reese. He was at Mike all last year. And then Peyton Pierce, who's your classic Mike, he was at Will. And this year, you've got Arvell at Mike. Then you got Peyton Pierce behind him. So Peyton, where he belongs at Mike. Then you've got Riley Pettijohn, who, picture your perfect Will. There he is. He's at Mike. At Will, you got Sonny Styles, Garrett Stover, and TJ Alford. But I think this is just part of him teaching them all both positions. He wants them all to learn both. And he would probably like it if they all learned everybody else's position, because that's how he coaches, and I love it. TJ Alford is wearing number 17. Eli Lee takes Jack's number. He's wearing 33. And just when I was so excited to get Arvell Reese out of number 20, because I didn't like a fast linebacker wearing number 20, Riley Pettijohn comes in, and he's wearing number 20. All right, in the secondary, you started with Caleb Downs and Malik Hartford at safety, and then Jalen McClain and Leroy Roker were after them. All 4 of those guys were playing both positions. So for day number 1, it was Hartford over McClain. We'll see if that holds through the rest of spring, or if they're going to mix that up. One of our biggest questions was who is going to push Lorenzo Styles at nickel. It was our question of the day on Sunday's live show. We had a lot of comments about it. A lot of people want to stick one of our starting corners in there. And I think that's just so Devin Sanchez can have an opening to start. I know what you guys are up to. Obviously, IGB would be kind of a perfect fit there. He's physical. He loves to tackle. He loves to hold. He would get away with that a lot more in there. Problem is, IGB came back to get that lockdown corner label and be a first-round pick. That doesn't happen if he moves to nickel. His draft stock is not going to improve because he's a well-rounded corner because he can play nickel. It's going to improve from the second round grade or third if he can be a true number 1, a lockdown guy. And I just find it hard to believe that would be okay with him to move to nickel. Like, you want to say, like, everybody's going to do what's best for the team. However, these conversations you have with guys when you want them to come back, there are certain things you may say, okay, yeah, we're not going to move you. Like, I don't know that happened. I'm just saying, if I was going to come back and I had the reasons IGB does, and he's been clear about it, he's coming back to increase his draft stock, that conversation was had with the coaching staff. That's just a thought. I could be wrong. Jermaine Matthews, I think, is the best cover corner on this team right now. And I think that that is an incredibly valuable piece on your team. And I don't want to see him move up to nickel or fight for that spot with Lorenzo Styles. A lot of people brought him up too. That is not who I would pick either. But today they had Bryce West. Bryce West out of Glenville, second-year guy, came in with Aaron Scott, and he is only 5'9". I didn't realize how muscled up he was. He's 193 pounds now, which is the same weight as safety Jalen McClain. And at 5'9", you know, he's a thicker guy. So maybe that's a really good fit. He's certainly fast as heck, and he can certainly cover. But at 5'9", might have a little bit of difficulty. You know, you got to be able to cover the tight end sometimes. You got to be such a Swiss Army knife there. So I'm not so sure how well that works. But he's the one who started there. And, of course, you had Devin Sanchez today. First time in a Buckeye uniform. In fact, I noticed something. When you look at Devin's helmet real close there under that shell, that's not a black stripe. That is not a black stripe there. So I was searching through all photos of the other freshmen. Everybody else had a black stripe except for Devin and Trajan Odom. Defensive lineman Trajan Odom also did not have a black stripe. So I'm assuming they just didn't get around to putting the black stripe on a couple of their helmets. But I did notice that hiding under there, poking out, was a little bit of a scarlet stripe. There's no way he broke that record yet. He can't break it before first practice, right? So I was surprised at how many people were surprised about Devin Sanchez physically. The comments that came out of there about Sanchez physically were just like, people were shocked. And I'm like, wait, like we've all known this. Like, we've all known how freaky and how crazy he is and how long his arms are and how muscular he already is. Like, we know this. But yeah, everybody was really shocked. Yeah, he's that dude. He really is that dude. Over at running back, we got to see transfer. I got a picture of these guys. So take a look at CJ Donaldson. This is transfer CJ Donaldson, listed at 6'2", 237. Locke said he was down to 230. And look at him next to freshman Bo Jackson. So CJ Donaldson in number 12, Bo Jackson in number 25. And this is why, like, look, these guys, that's the same size dude right there. There's no difference there. And Bo is considerably faster, which is why I think that it's going to be Bo really eating into those carries when we talk about that two-man tandem with James Peoples, with CJ Donaldson, that Bo Jackson is going to be eating into those. And I'm thinking it's going to be CJ Donaldson's, not James Peoples, that he's eating into. Anyway, Ryan Day had some things to say about those running backs as well.
Well, for James has obviously been here and he knows it. So he's going to have to step up. And it's not easy to figure out what running backs can do in the spring because we're not tackling them. But he knows what it looks like. He knows the offense. CJ has played more, but doesn't really know what we do here. And obviously when you come to Ohio State, there's a transition. It was a transition for Quinchon. So I'm excited to see how that looks. He did a nice job in the first couple of weeks as, he actually was a scout team back. He played Jeremiah Love and some of the guys we had, the guys at Texas, and did a good job with that. I thought he ran hard. But then it's going to be interesting to see these young guys, Bo Jackson, Isaiah, we'll have Turbo coming in, Sam. So we need these guys, like you said.
All right, let's move to these quarterbacks, as they didn't do much, short and intermediate routes. But, boy, Tavian looked good in that uniform. He's all the way over on the left in this picture, wearing number 9. You've got Julian in the middle wearing number 10, Lincoln on the right wearing number 3. Tavian obviously noticeably bigger than the two of them. The difference between Julian and Lincoln is pretty negligible, but the difference in the zip of that ball coming off all three of their hands, very different when it's Julian saying, and that's no surprise. It always has been. When he's with 5 other quarterbacks, it's just different. Like that at the Elite 11, like that with every teammate. It's something special, man. Something fun to watch. So really looking forward to seeing some more of Julian as this goes on. When it comes to leadership growth, I really want to see if he's someone who can come out of his shell. As for the receivers, Jeremiah Smith somehow looked faster. We just watched him play, right? But he somehow looked even faster. I'm looking at Jeremiah and I'm thinking like back to last spring, and number one, I can't believe how fast a year has gone by. But last spring, he looks even different and even better than last spring. That's for sure. The progress he's made in 1 year. We're already 1/3 of his career over, 1/3 over at Ohio State. And I'm just like pinching myself saying, man, make sure you appreciate every minute of this, because we're going to be talking about this guy as Ohio State fans for the rest of our lives. And this period of time when he played, which in season 1 culminated in a national championship, right? And his highlight film, I don't know if you guys have watched it yet. His highlight film from year 1 as a Buckeye, it is so long and it is filled with so much unbelievable stuff. You should go back and watch it. Catches you forget, because they're just like, there's so many of them. By the time he is done at Ohio State, that highlight reel of him at Ohio State is going to be like 30 minutes long of just ridiculous. And, just got to appreciate it, man. Got to appreciate it as he continues to get bigger and better. And it's just going to be really unfair when he's in his 3rd year. I mean, it already is, but imagine then. Brandon Inniss, who last year worried a lot of people. The Penn State game, Brandon Inniss caught a touchdown pass, and he ran it probably from the 15-yard line into the end zone. And it was a side camera view when it was live, so you didn't know who it was. And the comments were like, I didn't know who that was, and I was really disappointed when I found out that was Brandon Inniss, because it didn't look like he had a whole lot of speed getting from that 15 to the goal line. It looked like a tight end. And he looks really fast today. He looked really fast at practice. I think he's gotten faster. Freshman Quincy Porter, 6'4", wearing number 11. Inniss is old number. Inniss is in number 1 now. He's just a big dude, man. He's a big dude, and he's pretty damn polished for a guy that size. If Jeremiah Smith wasn't on this team, everybody'd be freaking out right now about Quincy Porter. Looks really sharp out there. Who surprised me of those freshmen that looked really sharp? Guy that I've been kind of underestimating, I suppose, Phillip Bell. That's the West Coast wide receiver that came in out of California, wearing number 7 at Ohio State. He looked pretty doggone polished. Really, really polished. So excited to see that. Didn't get to see any of Des Jones, who's wearing number 8. And just saw a couple pictures of BP Miller. And BP has gained 20 pounds already, which he really needs. He's a slim dude. But BP wearing number 18, which is awesome, because when we first got him, I was looking at frames, and I'm like, this guy's got kind of a similar frame to Marv if he can get bigger. And he's wearing number 18. So I like that. That's pretty cool. Let's get to special teams, because we got some big news. The Buckeyes have hired Nate Ebner. And Nate Ebner, obviously, Buckeye stud, special teams superstar, walked on at Ohio State, joins the Patriots, has a 10-year NFL career built off hard work and special teams. And he's just like the epitome of everything awesome about a story like that. Like, the guy's just great. Everybody loves him. And he's a former Buckeye who gets it, just got out of the league in 2021, wants to coach. This is his first gig. Obviously, Day talked about him, about the credibility he's got, and the credibility all those Buckeye alums have with Brian and James and Tim Walton, and now Nate Ebner on staff. And if Nate Ebner can't get special teams turned around at Ohio State, nobody can, man. When you think of special teams in the last 30 years, like, 2 guys to me come out: Steve Tasker for the Bills and Nate Ebner, a guy that made a 10-year career off of specials. So you had the Parker Fleming debacle. Then you had last year where each position coach took a certain special team, and that was theirs. I think they'll probably do that the same way, but Ebner will be the one constant throughout all those special teams. So that's how I'm assuming they're going to break it up. Seems to make the most sense to me. But he's apparently got his work cut out for him, as they took punts today, and Brandon Inniss, Carnell Tate, Bryson Rogers, J.J. Smith, Mylan Graham, Caleb Downs, Jimmy DePeoples, and Quincy Porter all returned punts today, and nobody was catching the punts. So Ebner's got his work cut out for him, and let's see what he can do. Really excited about that. So with the hiring of Nate Ebner, the Buckeyes have now brought in 10 support staff this year, That is Nate Ebner, special teams. Marcus Johnson, offensive line coach from Purdue. He's an offensive line guy. Charlie Dickey, offensive line coach from Oklahoma State. He's an offensive line guy. Austin Fields, offensive line guy at Virginia Tech, another offensive line guy. Tony Washington, defensive ends and linebackers. He was coaching outside linebackers at UCLA. He'll be working with Larry Johnson. Miguel Patrick, defensive line. He'll be working with Larry Johnson. Tabor Johnson, he'll be working with the corners. Colin Keanu, he will be working with Billy Fessler. Wendy Laurent, he'll be working with JUCK Keenan Bailey. That's right. Keenan Bailey is a JUCK guys. Keenan Bailey just followed me out of the blue. Keenan Bailey must be a JUCK. Gotta be. The only reason. So, good thing we've been saying nice things about Keenan lately. But when we look at this support staff, man, and we look at this coaching staff, it is just a monster. It's an absolute monster. And we've been talking for a while now about how this program is not built for a one-year national championship. It is built for long-term success. And if Ryan Day could ever kick the door in, man, look out. Well, he's kicked the door in. And the way he is now able to put a staff together like that, it's so impressive. It's so impressive, man. And we're going to get to Ryan Day in a minute here. But first, if you've not liked the show yet, please do that. If you're not subscribed, please do that as well. And if you're listening on podcast, I haven't forgot about you. Please also drop me a review. I'd really appreciate that from one of you guys today. That'd be great. Fantastic if you could do that today. Anyway, JJ obviously wears number 4, right? Number 4, a great looking number on him. At Ohio State, number 2 is the number, right? Number 2. That's the number that the star players wear at Ohio State. There is no number 2 on offense this year. Emeka leaves. He was wearing 2 last year. Nobody has chosen to wear number 2, which is really interesting to me. Now, on defense, Devin Sanchez is wearing number 4. So you've got JJ and Devin Sanchez, your back-to-back crazy star freshmen, wearing number 4. However, everybody's really excited about that. I'm going to give you a little pause here, just a moment to pause on this. Devin Sanchez wore number 6 in high school. He couldn't get that here because Sonny is wearing number 6. But we all know that Sonny's going to win the Block O. And when he does, that makes 6 available. Will Devin Sanchez then change to 6? I don't know. Something to think about. A really cool story here. So Ty Howard, all-conference linebacker at Duquesne, kid out of Cleveland, has a little brother. Little brother blows up and becomes a national recruit and ends up getting an Ohio State scholarship, goes to Ohio State, and Ty Howard in his senior year gets to transfer to Ohio State to play football on the same team as his little brother, Bo Jackson. Now, Ty Howard, a linebacker, Bo Jackson, a running back, 2 brothers on the same team, both of them wearing number 25. I love that. I think this is a great story. So when you see the 25s out there, those are brothers, and that's really cool. When people talk about Ryan Day, Michigan problem comes out a lot. I never thought he had a Michigan problem. I thought he had a big game problem. And what I mean by that is in big games, even though he won plenty, he lost plenty, but he wasn't quite himself. Everything was a little bit different. He was a little bit more uptight, made kind of decisions you wouldn't think he would normally make. Clock management wasn't always the best at the end of the game. And it just seemed like he was a different guy when there was a ton of pressure. You could certainly see this, the worst example of it in the 2024 Michigan game, where it was just from the game plan to the facial expressions to the catatonic look at the end of the game, wasn't even himself. Now, my contention was when Ryan Day wins a national championship at the end of this season, he is not going to have this problem with Michigan anymore. And he's not going to have this problem in big games anymore. Because once he does it once, things are going to be totally different from him. He's going to know he can do it, and he's going to know that he has set the program up to do it again. And I want you to listen to this quote from Ryan Day today.
There's no question. Yeah, we're in a different place than we were a couple months ago. I mean, yeah, definitely more relaxed, Jeremy. I mean, to say I'm not is crazy. There's no question. Yeah, we're in a different place than we were a couple months ago. I mean, let's call it for what it is. But that doesn't change like the approach. And I think that's the thing. Like, some days you wake up. I said it was kind of like when I had the opportunity to become the head coach at Ohio State. You walk down the hall and you see Woody Hayes and Tressel and Urban and Cooper and Earl Bruce, and you pinch yourself. And a month later you wake up and you're like, I'm the head coach at Ohio State. Like, man, it's the same thing with winning a national championship. Like, some days you wake up and you almost forgot you won it, because life just moves on. It just does. And it's on to the next challenge. It's on to the next group of guys. But winning just gives you an opportunity to continue to have an impact on young people's lives. And that's why you get into coaching, period. And if you're not, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. And so that's it.
I love it. I love it from him. The confidence is so inspiring to me because we already know the program is set up perfectly. And now we've got this guy who just conquered college football and knows he can do it again. Man, I think the odds are very good that Ryan Day starts turning that Michigan record around immediately, and that he definitely finishes his career as a multiple-time national champion at Ohio State. And I would not be too surprised if one of those happened in 25 or 26, because I love the makeup of the current team right now, and I really love the coaching staff that he put together. Now, let's get to one more thing before we get out of here today, and that is yesterday I said this. Running back Faber Aki, our local guy, offers from Miami, USC, Penn State. This is picked up real quick for him, and I talked to Faber today. This is a kid who, much like you and me, really would love to be a Buckeye. Ultimately, I think Faber gets the offer. I think he gets the offer on Monday. And Faber got that offer on Monday, as predicted. Congratulations to him. A great running back, a great kid. And when Ryan Day gives a scholarship offer out to a local Ohio guy, that comes directly from him. And that had to be an awesome feeling for him. A kid who came to the United States as a 2-year-old from Cameroon, didn't start playing football till the 9th grade, and in the 11th grade gets himself a scholarship to the Ohio State University. So fantastic. Let's hope he winds up a Buckeye when it's all said and done. A couple of other offers also went out. Gordon Sellers, the wide receiver we talked about yesterday, from Providence Day High School, David Sanders High School in North Carolina, and also Jimmy Kalis, a huge 6'7", 285-pound lineman out of Pittsburgh, but he's a class of 2027 kid, and I don't want to confuse anybody bringing those guys into the conversation other than that's Tyler Bowen's first offer for 2027, so it is kind of noteworthy there. So that's all we got today. I appreciate you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Juck and Bucks out.